news, we have a housing shortage in Rhode Island.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
I think you would confirm that. You know, the polling data out there is really interesting. It's amazing how the housing issue has kind of risen in the polls in terms of people's concerns about things. Obviously, it's a subsection of the economy, right? But it is no doubt one of the things that concerns not only young people who are looking for housing, but me, baby boomer, actually looking to downsize, trying to figure out how to do that and not get beat. You know, there used to be an old formula. You know, you work for a living, you pay your mortgage, you sell your house, you take a little money off the table, you throw it in your investment account, maybe it gets you retiring a little bit early, that kind of thing. And the formula is all out of whack because everything is kind of chase your tail. You know, you sell what you have, and now you're going to pay as much or more to do something else, and so you don't do anything, and so that suppresses the marketplace and has really kind of discombobulated the entire layering of housing and economic definitions that pertain to it. It's a very complicated conversation, and we've had plenty of it here and on the radio on WPRI weekdays 3 to 6. We have a question on the ballot. It's question 3. Eric got a headline here that we can show. This is a really important question. There's $120 million on the table here for us to borrow and invest in housing. And it's funny because you don't get a lot of opposition to the question. And by and large, we have a population here who, if the question is posed legitimately about the number you're looking at, most people say, yeah, okay, we'll pass that. We have investments on the ballot like schools. There's big numbers on the schools. That's question 2. We'll have a conversation with both presidents of RIC and URI here next week to talk about that. This one, I think, is, you know, you say housing, people go, ooh, I'm guessing it'll pass. But we might as well have a conversation about it. So let me play this as a scene setter, and then we're going to talk to one of our local community experts on the matter.
$120 million would help create affordable housing, revitalize communities, and help with housing demand in the state. So here's a breakdown of how some of that money would be spent. $80 million would be for low and moderate income housing, $20 million for low, moderate, and middle income housing for homeownership. Plus, the money would also support infrastructure and municipal planning. Here's a clip from that campaign video.
I'm here today with an important ask for Team Rhode Island on an incredibly important issue for our state, housing. We know that housing is more than just a place to live. Housing opens doors to good paying jobs and economic well-being, and it promotes health and wellness for our families and children across our state. That's why our administration has made historic investments in housing.
While state leaders like Governor Dan McKee are championing the bond vote, the conservative think tank Rhode Island Center for Freedom and Prosperity Group opposes the bond vote. They sent a statement to 12 News that reads in part, "Our center encourages voters to reject question 3. The primary cause of unavailable and unaffordable housing in Rhode Island is due to excessive regulations that deter developers from building cost-effective units."
Interesting that the Center for Freedom and Prosperity has a no position on this. I'm not surprised. I'll talk about them in a little bit. Kyle Bennett is here. He's the Chief of Staff and Public Affairs Officer for the United Way. We're not asking for contributions here today. We're asking for analysis. So unless you want to do a pitch, you can always
It's always a great idea to give to United Way. We're here 24/7, 365. We tell you to give us a call at 211 if you have any questions about how to give or if you need help with human service issues. But yes, we're not here for that today.
Man, that rolled right off your tongue. That was pretty, that was pretty easy. Thank you for coming in. So I was just looking at the bonds earlier in the week, and I said to Stacy Steinberg, my producer, I said, you know what, we really should do something on 3. This housing thing is really important. Yes. And through the networking that we did, we found you, the campaign director for Yes on 3, thought that you were a quality guy to come in here and talk about it. Your title may belie your expertise on housing specifically. You work on housing at the United Way, correct?
I do, among a number of other issues, but I've worked on 4 affordable housing bond campaigns in Rhode Island from 2006 to 2021.
All passed?
All passed, successfully by more than 2/3 of the state of Rhode Island. By and large, we've known for a long time that affordable housing is in shortage. And by affordable, we simply mean that someone spends less than 30% of their income on their housing expenses.
Say that again?
Someone spends less than 30% of their income on their housing-related expenses.
Meaning the affordability line is 30%.
Absolutely. And there are income thresholds defined by the state for 80% of the area median income for renters, 120% of the area median income for homeowners, but that's roughly $40,000 or $60,000 for a family of 3.
Before we get into some of the stuff on this, your work at the United Way also causes you to be the chair of the Housing Resources Commission.
United Way was invited to serve on the Housing Resources Commission as an intermediary, someone that funds and advocates for affordable housing production. So through that time in service on the commission, I was then asked by the governor to serve as chair.
What does it do?
The Housing Resources Commission is primarily the policy body that designs housing policy for the state. It is a fully volunteer effort. It's comprised roughly of half State Department administrators, so there are 28 members in total, but half are State Department administrators, the other half are community members who have expertise in housing production, housing data governance, housing management, and policy broadly. There are special advocacy groups for folks who are in specialized populations like seniors or veterans that are also members of the commission.
Do you guys link in with folks like Grow Smart Rhode Island and that kind of group?
We do all the time. Our work is intersectional. Housing, as you can imagine, is something that is, and part of the reason it's complex is because it's an integrated set of strategies. The Grow Smart organization and Scott Wolf are amazing at bringing new strategies and ideas to the state of Rhode Island. The Smart Growth strategy in total is one that we've considered for more than a decade at the Housing Resources Commission.
The Grow Smart people they're interesting, and you know, sometimes I don't buy their whole act. I mean, there seems like a little bit of social engineering that comes into some of the work that they do, but by and large, somebody's got to be not necessarily up and down the governmental payroll line to actually offer us some thoughts about how we're going about all of this,
yes.
Right? All right, let's take a break here. I normally wait, but let's pause and let's get into a couple of things. The current environment in terms of housing, you know, what it really is, some of the biases that exist out there, and then what question 3 will actually provide if it's approved. Stay with us. Housing and community opportunity, that's a breakdown. I don't expect you to take notes, but just know that there are layers to the spending that will occur should the $120 million bond be approved by the voters. Look, I'm not going to tell you it's a no-brainer. One of the reasons why these bonds in the past have passed is because of the work that you did to explain them to people. Yes?
Yes, sir.
At the same time, there's a really interesting dynamic in the population. If you listen to my radio phone lines on a regular basis, you'll hear people griping about the cost of government and taxes are too high and blah blah blah. And some of those legitimate complaints ought to be heard, understood, and taken seriously. At the same time, the general impression of the electorate is, hey, if you need money for something, we'll give it to you. So, you know, the only folks that are identifiable right now that are no on question 3 are the Center for Research and, the Freedom and Prosperity guys. And they have turned into a very MAGA, very interesting crowd. The dialogue is generally not as open-minded and constructive as it used to be. So
You know, Dan, if I could.
Having said that, yes, you have a thought on that?
This group is one that's opposed to this issue, but I think there's also some more nuanced responses. There are some folks who say, yes, we believe that we need more affordable housing, but, and the but is, I don't necessarily want it in my backyard or next to my home.
Correct. So the NIMBY thing is big, and I wanted to talk about that. We have an expectation right now with current law for 10% affordable housing. You know, each municipality is supposed to be carving out that allocation. Very few, if any, have reached that.
And that's a floor, not a ceiling, right? So we were hoping to get to a place where every community had at least 10% affordable housing. The latest study from Housing Works Rhode Island shows that every city and town, without exception, has about 45% of their folks who need access to affordable housing. So 10% is the floor, and if 45% is the ceiling of need, we have a large gap.
All right. Well, let me just say this: I will be voting. I will be voting yes on 3. So I'm not going to torture my guest with a debate on whether we ought to vote yes on 3. But I will tell you, I think there are a whole bunch of not only nuances, but mistakes that have been made by housing advocates in trying to get this thing a little bit right-sized. The term affordable housing, I think, is obsolete.
Yes.
Because one of the reasons why we've had a NIMBYism, not in my backyard, problem with this 10% across the board is the persona of affordable housing. Section 8, ghetto, you name it, right?
Yeah.
That kind of a thing. Do we want those people here in my community? I worked hard to move into an affluent community, upper middle income. I don't need my housing values deteriorating because a half a mile down the road there's a tenement project. That's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think what you've alluded to is the fact that we haven't necessarily educated our community members to what affordable housing is and who it serves.
I think you should throw the words out. I really do. I think there's a big you need to find, now this new term workforce housing is coming into play, which I think is more applicable. It too, I think, needs a little bit of a semantic study.
But workforce housing has been around for a long time. Before the Great Depression, we
Defined
had
as?
folks who were like the Levies, who created industry and built housing for employees that were workers of theirs, employees of theirs. They charged market rate rents, but they were providing the housing they knew was necessary in northern Rhode Island for incumbent and future employees to have a place to live.
Right. IBM.
Exactly. And the concept
they
that
owned the whole
affordable
town.
housing is for
In-
people
in
who
what?
don't work.
Endicott, New York, right?
But
That
that's also a challenge. Our workforce is strong. Incomes are not where we want to go. The governor wants to improve per capita income by 20% because he recognizes that what Rhode Islanders are earning now, by and large, are not helping to meet the housing costs or the living expense that's necessary to stay here in Rhode Island.
Mm. So here's my thing. We need to explain this in terms of the layers that have existed and have changed based on the current real estate type of environments that are out there. Even before this weird real estate anomaly, post-COVID inflation and everything
Yes.
thing evolved, we were low on available places for people to live. But we have this thing where we're worried about the homeless, and then we think about those who are in shelters and those who are then in subsidized units. I'm moving up the housing ladder here. And then there's the middle income people who are able to rent on their own and do their thing. And then there are homeowners of small little homes, and then there are larger homes, and blah, 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 blah. It goes like this. That middle crowd right now in that subsidized renting, and I can pay my rent, but there's not a chance in hell I can put any money away to buy a house group, chock full of professionals, firefighters, police, nurses,
Yes.
teachers, degreed people who have a mission in life and a profession and raising kids and all that kind of stuff, who can't budge. What are we doing inside the middle of this scheme to break that loose?
I think when
Is there money in this bond for that purpose?
When you look at this bond, and the breakout, there are specific dollars that are driving home ownership forward. And it's for the populations you mentioned. It's also for seniors. You may not need your family home, but you might need to downsize, except there are no units available. So you might not want to rent, you might not want to lease, but you do want a home, but you just want a smaller home. This bond is broken out in a way that it allows you, if you're looking to move up the housing scale in terms of housing opportunities, you have an apartment, you need a home now, you're ready to buy and begin to invest, or if you're downsizing on the other end. But that middle group that you mentioned, the professionals who are now doubling up and tripling up, some who have gone to a remote work status where they can do per diem work because that's the way they're choosing to live because they receive a higher rate of pay, we want those Rhode Islanders to stay home. This bond is going to help them to buy the place at the right point in time for them, no matter where they are.
Okay, so for instance, as I started at the top of the show, I could sell my house tomorrow. And the old formula was, ka-ching, put a big chunk of change away as I downsized. There's a very, very tight and unappealing market for downsizing right now. So I'm not selling my house.
Yes.
Which means that the upward, I don't know what generation it is, generation whatever it is, the 25 to 40-year-old, right, that's got a young family?
Yes.
Moving in, I mean, I put a for sale sign in my yard, it'll be sold in 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Because of those families that traditionally are moving on up, right? And they can't, there's no room for them because there's nothing out there.
No
which
inventory.
then suppresses, so now they're just renting and paying a high cost for rent. And that is pushing down on that subsidized economic group, which is pushing down on the shelter group, which is pushing down on the homeless situation. So I don't know at what part of the stack it's most effective to go in there and use this bond money to attack the problem. Where in that stack is the most priority?
I don't think we could prioritize one population. And that's why the formula is broken out the way that you see it. The reality is, Dan, there's not enough housing stock at any of those levels. Even if you are wealthy and you can afford to pay
but we got the
$2 million or $3 million for a home, the inventory doesn't exist. But
do we have the land? I mean, if you're living in a well-populated town in Rhode Island, people are saying, well, where the hell are you going to put it?
There's a combination of scenarios. We have land, and we also have regulation that in some cases prevents us from building on existing land. If you look at things like the lot size, I don't know if you know what the lot size is for your home.
Sure.
My home, 1/4 of an acre, 1/8 of an acre, right? It's fine in the city that I live in, but in every other city that might be a challenge. You might need a full acre or an acre and a half. So I think if we look at where we're able to build, where the land exists that's buildable, where we have infrastructure that includes water, sewer, gas, and cable, right? We need a wideband, a broadband system to make sure that people can learn from home or earn from home.
That's the infrastructure part.
The infrastructure has to exist. This bond is saying let's capitalize on those areas where we already have existing infrastructure. Let's build and support that middle section that you talked about, but let's also take care of people who have fallen on hard times.
Going back, I think I don't know what the new reference ought to be, but you've got a bias problem for affordable housing. I think you need a new name, and I think you got to define the realities of those hardworking contributors to making society work who are doing all the right things and only can afford to rent. They need a new mantra. The mantra's the wrong one.
We need to create a new image, right? And it's
correct.
a new time. When you say affordable housing, in some people's minds, they do conjure the images that you mentioned. Where we work in Olneyville, in the Olneyville section of Providence, there is a tower in the center of Olneyville Square, and when someone comes into our building, we say affordable housing, the image that they share is the building that's outside of our home. Towers full of people that we're not connected to, towers full or busloads of people coming into our community. This bond is to help the people who are already in our communities that desperately need access to housing.
Gotcha.
Getting the kid out of your basement. You have a grown adult son, daughter, child who's been living in your basement for 5 years because they can't afford rent. They can't afford to buy their first home. They can't afford to begin making that investment.
And hopefully they're putting money away and not blowing it at the bars.
Absolutely.
No, seriously, because eventually they got to get the hell out.
They have to get out at some point, but there has to be a place to go.
Get out! there's a nest empty here. In the meantime, we'll talk about how that money actually. Seriously, I'm speaking for my whole generation. How does the money actually work for a couple minutes when we come back? So let's do this. You know, without the drama, the opposition folks on this, the Senator for Freedom and Prosperity, I can write their speech. We don't need taxpayer money to solve this problem. We just need to stop busting the chops of all the builders out there and let them build as they do, and get rid of the regulations and let this thing become its own natural economic free-for-all. So that's their argument. Your quick response to that would be?
Yes, we have to deregulate, but no for free opportunity to build without regulation. We certainly have to make sure that folks are happy, that they're safe and healthy.
They say, well, we need some regulation, but not a lot of regulation. Okay. Specifically, Kyle, in a minute's time, when the taxpayers pass this bond and the money gets, put in an account, what does the spending do? Is it giving subsidies to builders? Is it giving incentives, bonuses? How do people get confident that the money is well spent? And you only got a minute for that.
Yeah,
so.
In the past, right? So this bond is leveraged against additional funds, tax credits, other resources that help to build. Ideally, when you create a project, and by project I mean design a plan for building, you've got to have a braided funding stream. These dollars are the most flexible that allow projects to come to completion. So you might have something that's closely funded at 75 or 80%, but you need that last 20%.
A private developer?
Private developer or public
and
developer.
And they get access to loans or grants or cash? I mean, what is it?
It's a combination. This is a grant project, right? So this is investing in affordable housing production specifically. If you're developing a 100-unit property and you have 20 units that are affordable, the Building Homes Rhode Island program in the past has invested in those 20 units. The private dollars would support the other 80 units. So this really is focused on affordable housing production, whether it's an apartment, if it's a townhouse, or an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit.
Which is its own little controversy in and of itself. Gotcha. Well, I'd like you to come on the radio side before Election Day and talk more at length about this, because the environment gives us a little bit more chance to ask these questions. But your pitch in 10 seconds to folks is what?
Simple. Vote yes on 3 because we need more affordable housing. We need homes that people can afford to live in, that they can grow old in, and that they can retire from. Our young generation deserves to be able to buy their first home right here in Rhode Island. They shouldn't have to cross the state line to buy their first home.
Get out of the house. Go. Thanks. Very good. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Dan.
You bet. Final word when we come back. Stay with us. All right, so we yesed on one. We debated question one last week. It's online at WPRI.com. This is question 3, housing, and now next week we'll take a look at question 2, which is the financing of our 2 big campuses. All right, great. Enjoy the week. Getting close. Bye.